In March 2023, this clip showed how early AI could be used to generate video. Will Smith eating spaghetti, or more accurately, a distorted Will Smith creature attempting to push pasta into its face. At the time, it was funny because it was so bad. All AI generated video was bad back then. Humans melted, objects changed shape, faces mutated, and maintaining the same character for more than a few seconds was extremely difficult. But these early experiments at least showed us the direction we were heading in. Fast forward 3.5 years and I've just watched an entire feature film generated by artificial intelligence. The Cully Hill Boys, created by Higgsfield AI. And the truth is, if I hadn't known that it was AI generated before I started watching it, I don't think I would have realised. So this video is a reflection on Gen AI reaching flawless realism and what I think that means for the future of TV and film. Let's dive in. The Cully Hill Boys was made using real people who provided their physical likenesses and voices. But every single frame is AI generated. Nobody actually performed any scenes in the film. And yet those people appear to act, speak, move through locations and interact with each other perfectly. If you're interested in seeing it, I've popped a link in the description below where you can watch the entire movie for free on Higgsfield AI's YouTube channel. Technically, it's extraordinary, and I mean that. The rapid progression of quality in AI-generated video has blown my mind. Faces remain completely consistent throughout, lighting behaves naturally, and environments are totally convincing. 99.9% of the earlier visual and audio flaws we'd become used to spotting in AI videos are either very subtle or no longer present at all. I have to be honest, reaching this point has happened far faster than I ever expected. I'd previously predicted that we might have to wait until around 2028 to 2030 before AI could maintain convincing characters throughout something as complicated as a 2-hour feature film. So on that prediction, I was clearly wrong. It's 2026 and the Cully Hill Boys movie is evidence that we're there already. AI's rapid evolution makes it difficult to gauge where we'll be next week, let alone next year. But I also made another prediction last year about AI generated movies in a previous video called "We'll Still Choose People in the Age of AI." And having just watched the Cully Hill Boys, I think that one was on the money. Because I discussed how technical excellence in visuals and sound isn't the only thing that engages us in films. More often than not, it's the humans behind the films we watch that we really feel connected to. Or put simply, authenticity isn't something machines can simulate. So back in 2025, I suggested that when AI-generated actors become completely convincing, we'll still prefer real people in films. Not because we'll be able to see the difference or hear the difference, but because we'll know the difference. Watching the Cully Hill Boys was the first opportunity I'd had to test that idea. And for me at least, I can now see firsthand that watching a Gen AI movie isn't the same. It does feel off. Not uncanny valley off, and not that looks computer generated off, but experientially off. Now I should point out that even if AI hadn't generated the sound and visuals, I don't think the Cully Hill Boys was ever going to be a particularly good film. Personally, I thought the script was clunky, the direction felt hammy, and the story was a bit ropey. So the experience I had was clearly impacted by my perspective on those things as well. Plus, I have to take into account that making a movie to a brand new AI workflow will have affected the production team's efforts. This was the first time a full movie had been made using AI in this particular way, and I've no doubt there was a really talented bunch of people behind the scenes. But there was definitely something else underneath it, dragging my experience down, something very real and harder to quantify. It's this: nobody actually stood there to be filmed. Nobody delivered lines to other actors. Nobody looked someone else in the eyes and reacted to their performance. Nobody walked into a room, sat in a chair and experienced the moments that I was watching. Nobody actually spoke those words. What I saw looked like a record of events, but in fact those events never happened. And I knew it. And even though on paper that shouldn't matter, it does. Knowing that nothing I was watching ever took place altered my experience. And that's something I think AI-generated video and sound, even flawless examples such as this, will always be held back by. Because they're shadows of reality, not a record of reality. And for me, that changes my experience. Normally when I'm really into a film, I'm not usually thinking about actors standing on sets or the cameras recording them. Actually, because I do some videography myself, I do sometimes reflect on camera angles and editing. But I'm certainly not sitting there thinking about how many takes they performed or what happened in between scenes. However, I think that some part of our relationship with film has always depended on knowing that behind the fiction is a record of real human experiences. An actor who had to perform, multiple people genuinely interacting. A director who has to make decisions in a physical environment. Camera operators and a production crew. Unexpected things that might have happened only to have been kept in the final edit. That's why we love interviews with the cast and behind the scenes footage. So even though AI can now simulate a feature film with near perfect accuracy, it can only simulate the outcome, not the substance that builds that outcome. So I think that consuming simulated human creations will always be inherently different to experiencing real ones. The fact they're synthetic is hard to look past, even when, from an audio-visual perspective, they seem completely real. 3 years ago, we were laughing at a poorly rendered Will Smith face merging with spaghetti. Today, I'm watching nearly 2 hours of perfectly AI-generated footage in a long-form, cohesive film, one that I can't instinctively identify as being artificial. We no longer need to ask whether AI-generated films will ever look indistinguishable from conventionally produced ones. The Cully Hill Boys has shown us that they can. But we do need to ask what happens from here on. It's becoming clear that AI can reproduce everything we see and hear in the real world on a screen, and in time through fully immersive experiences. But making something that appears the same shouldn't be confused with making something that feels the same. Those two things are different. So I'm going to make some new predictions, ones that I'm fairly sure are going to play out. AI will be used more and more to enhance movies, add special effects, and assist in the creation of visual and audio content, but human involvement will go on. There will of course be a huge amount of AI-generated movies and TV shows, entirely synthetic and made with little or no human involvement. AI's use will be especially prevalent in areas like digital animation, advertising, social media promotion, and special effects driven films. In fact, that's a great use for it because computers and stock footage already dominate these areas. But human-made TV and films with real actors, real locations, and real crews will never die. In fact, I think they'll flourish in this new era because the things AI can remove the need for, actors, locations, and crews, are the reasons that many of us actually watch TV and movies in the first place. We just didn't know it, or perhaps until AI landed, we didn't need to reflect on the things we were connecting with. As always, thanks so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you again in the future.